Welcome to the program today. Mondo Gonzales here in studio with our good friend L.A. Marzulli, and we're going to be talking about the entire foundation of why the Nephilim are important and how it is going to impact our last days generation. Well, welcome back. We are here with LA, and before we get to LA, I want to remind everybody about our upcoming conference, which is going to be October 9th through 12th here in Norman, Oklahoma. We have 23 speakers, most of your favorites for sure, that are going to be discussing all things prophecy. And one of the amazing things about it is we got room for about 1,000 people that are going to get around, sit together, look in each other's eyes, and simply just fellowship. We know how wonderful it is to fellowship with people who are like-minded. But we invite you to join us. You can go to prophecywatchers.com, get all the information there. If you can't join us in person, consider joining us through live stream. And that is another way, again, at your own convenience to see every presentation that's going to happen. It's going to be phenomenal. And when we think about the Nephilim, let's just transition right into it. L.A., welcome.
Great to be here, Mondo. Thank you.
And what we're going to discuss today is we maybe talk about this... The discussion of the Nephilim goes back a long time, but it really started getting really major traction, I would say about 2015, and the prophecy world started waking up to the whole idea and the importance of the Nephilim. And so talk about the Nephilim Mounds conference, just right out of the gate, because that's one of the things that we're going to be discussing at all the presentations that happen there and how they're still relevant.
Well, the Nephilim Mounds conference really was the first time in a couple of thousand years, think about this, that a group of Christian men went to Ohio, where all these ancient megalithic sites are, these mounds, and had a completely different viewpoint, by which we look at all these mounds and we're saying, no, wait a second, this is something else. Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. And Gary Stearman kicked it off with Genesis 3:15. We all knew Genesis 6. But I had never heard the Genesis 3:15 prequel to Genesis 6. Your seed, talking of a dragon, will be at war at enmity with the seed of the woman. That's the entire Bible. It's a seed war. Why would Jesus warn us, and this is 2,000 years ago, be like the days of Noah when I return? Everybody who listens to that and hears that in the first century, they all know exactly what the days of Noah are. Why? Josephus tells us that the bones of the Nephilim were openly on display in Jerusalem. They had countenance so unlike any men. I mean, they were huge. They were giants, David and Goliath. The first century Jews who were there listening to Jesus, they don't know exactly what he's talking about. So the whole idea of the Sethite theory hasn't even been invented yet. It's like, that doesn't happen for a couple hundred years later, which completely turns the whole thing on its head, and it's lost really for thousands of years. So the Nephilim Mounds conferences pulls back the covers and reveals the plans of the enemy. And I'll tell you something, folks, here. All these areas that we talk about, these are highly charged areas in and around Newark, Ohio, and other places in Ohio.
To me, I find it fascinating that when you look at the Bible, there's no doubt for most of church history, we can understand the gospel. You can read the book of Gospel of John, you can read John 3:16, you can understand that Jesus loves me and died for my sins. And that is a great depth, life-changing thing. But it's also, and this is meant in a nice way, it's first grade level. And, and that's good. The gospel is meant to be approached by anybody, children included. But if you want to go deeper and you want to understand the three-dimensional aspect of the Bible, this is why you go back to Genesis 3:15, and then you go into Genesis 6, and you go into Genesis 14, and you see all of these other histories of why God sent Joshua in to go after the Anakim and the Nephilim. We see that in Numbers 13. I just encourage you, after the show is over, read Deuteronomy 2 and 3, and you can see the history of the other tribes of these giant, large stature people that God had killed in ancient times. And so the story is in the Bible, right there in the first 5 books as a foundation. And there are those, as you know, that might say, why are you guys talking about this? Well, we're talking about it because it's in the Bible and it's foundational. So talk about the as well the overarching theme like of the conference and all the different speakers of what we had there. It's just phenomenal.
I would say that the whole thrust of the conference was to show the validity of the Nephilim, that they were here, that there was a migration from Israel. You taught me this actually, the column, the stele. We are those who fled from the face of Joshua the robber, the son of Nun. What's that doing on the shores of Africa? Why would Procopius write that, right, and record it? Because there was this westward migration from Israel. They were fleeing for their lives. And I've done some of this. I have traced them from Gozo to Malta, to Sardinia, to Sicily, and then islands like Majorca, into Spain, into Portugal, into France, into the UK, and finally over here. I mean, when you stand in the UK and you look at Silbury Hill, and we filmed there, and I look at the camera and I go, am I in Ohio or someplace else? Because you can't tell. You don't know. It looks exactly like the mounds that we see. So the overarching theme is to really nail down that the Nephilim were here. They were here in the Americas. There was this migration of them. They're the ones that built all these megalithic structures which are found globally. And part of what we warn about, why would Jesus point us to the days of Noah? Everybody 2,000 years ago, remember, there's no, I always have trouble saying this, there is no Sethite theory then, which completely contradicts the biblical narrative. The sons of God are not the godly line of Seth, and the human women are not the hoochie mamas of Cain. That's not what it says. No. So the fallen angels come down and they do the unthinkable. Why? If they can pollute the genome, if they can corrupt the genome, Doug Hamp's book, Corrupting the Image, then Messiah won't be born. Checkmate, I win, but that's not what happens. But the flood, there's the tampering, there's genetic stuff going on. Why would Jesus warn us that when his return, it'll be like the days of Noah? Folks, we are here. We are absolutely in the days of Noah. It's screaming at us with the genetic manipulation. So the overarching theme, to circle back, is really to pull back the covers of the seed war and the reality that the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards.
Absolutely. I mean, L.A. wrote a book not too long ago called Countermove, and I had the opportunity to share a chapter in that talking about how did they return, how did the Nephilim return after the flood, and we discussed all that. But it's very powerful because the story, as we said, doesn't end in Genesis 6. It continues on through the rest of the Torah, and you go into Joshua, you go finally to the time of David, you see Goliath there, one of the remnants that fled in the time of Joshua in the 5 cities of the Philistines. It's just absolutely amazing. And when you get to the New Testament does address these things, and that's why it's important. Again, it provides this theological backdrop to the richness of the gospel and Jesus' victory over the principalities and the powers. And I want to talk about Russ Dizdar in a minute, and that might be a name you have heard or haven't heard from for a while. We're going to discuss him in just a minute, but we're going to take a little break where you can see how to get our magazine, which again goes into not just this topic for sure, but all the other various topics that are happening right now with Israel. The world is changing very quickly, so take a listen.
At Prophecy Watchers, we believe that God has called us to be a voice in these last days, to warn you of things to come, to educate you on the study of Bible prophecy, and to boldly proclaim the soon return of Jesus. Today, we're inviting you to be a part of our mission through our monthly publication. The Prophecy Watcher isn't just a magazine. It's your trusted news source for the end times, the place tens of thousands of people rely on for their end time news. For your gift of just $50 or more, here's what we'd love to send you. 12 monthly issues of our 4-color magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, in your choice of print or digital. Plus 5 bonus DVDs packed with eye-opening teachings from prophecy experts, including The Mystery of the Rapture, The Great Apostasy and the Revealing of the Antichrist, Holy Fire in Jerusalem, new shocking discoveries surrounding the Shroud of Turin, The Stones Cry Out, the archaeological evidence for Jesus, The Mystery of the 10 Kings. Could these be the wealthy and influential oligarchs who control our world today? As an added bonus, we want to send you a one-of-a-kind prophetic treasure, a book that examines every prophecy in the entire Bible. Exploring Bible prophecy from Genesis to Revelation, this 560-page masterpiece is our bonus gift to you. Every page of the Prophecy Watcher magazine is loaded with answers to the questions you've been asking. The rise of the Antichrist system, the Nephilim of Genesis 6, and the real reason for Noah's flood. The shocking truth about UFOs and government cover-ups. Jewish plans for the Third Temple. The World Economic Forum. The 2030 Global Reset and digital currency. The coming wars of Ezekiel 38 and 39. The Dead Sea Scrolls and their secrets to ancient prophecies. This $120 value can be yours for your gift of $50 with shipping included in the USA. Call us at the number on your screen or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. For our international friends, please note that additional shipping fees do apply and all prices listed are in US dollars. The signs are everywhere. The prophetic puzzle is almost complete. And yet, so many are still asleep. That's why the Prophecy Watchers exists, to shine a light in the darkness and help believers understand the lateness of the hour. We believe Jesus is coming soon, and your support helps us take this urgent message to the ends of the earth.
Well, welcome back. We are here with L.A. Marzulli talking about this 10 DVD set, which has got 20 hours or so of just really foundational material that
amazing.
hasn't lost its power.
No, not
now,
at all.
one of the main speakers in the set is Russ Dizdar, and I never had the chance to meet him. Of course, you did for sure. Talk about him and really what he has some great contributions here.
Yeah, Russ and I were at 90 conferences together, 90 conferences. He was a battle buddy. He would walk into the room, we would look at each other, and our faces would just beam. We met at this one conference years ago in Ohio. It was the first conference we were ever at. So Russ gets up and he's talking about the backbreeding of a Nephilim. He's talking about super soldiers. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh. And then I get up and I speak. And afterwards we realize we're looking at the same thing from slightly different angles. And that was it. We were at 90 conferences together, like I said. Russ was very much into what the Nazis were doing. He actually went to Wedelsburg Castle in Germany. And get this, folks, he actually went down to the secret chamber down below where they had the skulls, of the niches on the wall, the black sun directly overhead. And he prayed there for 20 minutes. He prayed there for 20 minutes and no one came in and bothered him. Did he break something? Possibly. There were also elongated skulls that were found in and around that area. Remember, the Nazis were full-blown occultists, absolutely. And Russ was always looking at the backbreeding to try to create the super soldier. The question is this, are they doing it today? In my opinion, they are, and that's very disturbing.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's other stories of, again, even in the Gulf War, where the American troops first came in, they immediately, they went straight to the museum.
Yeah.
In Baghdad.
Right.
And,
why?
And the story is that they pulled out Gilgamesh's body because he was allegedly a Nephilim. And it's like, well, why? I mean, why are they pulling this sarcophagus out? I mean, why there? That seems interesting. But it would be no surprise that they wouldn't want Nephilim DNA of some kind or trying, again, militarily to use it for some reasons. I find it a fascinating story. I wasn't there. I can't prove it. But I find it interesting and very plausible.
It's very plausible. I was threatened for our work on the Kandahar Giant. And I've talked about this numerous times, that I was threatened by a guy from the deep state, 3 different ways that they would come and get me because of the work on the Kandahar Giant. They didn't like that because what we were doing is showing that the Kandahar Giant, first of all, was real. It was about 12 to 14 feet tall. The body was definitely taken. We have a second witness. I just love the naysayers on YouTube. Oh, no, damn it. And it's like, excuse me. I've talked to a second witness. I know. I talked to a shooter numerous times. Shooter's gone dark now. It was real. And there were and Steve Quayle also, had a pilot, independent of ours, 2 giants, 2 different years, 2 different locations. So something is going on. They don't want us to know about it. What was interesting is after he approached me, the whole thing just kind of went away. Trump got elected in 2016. So this is like in 2016. in Dallas, and I had an armed bodyguard next to me, and he threatened me, like I said, 3 different ways. Look, they take the DNA and they're doing stuff with it.
Well, the key on that is that they were, at least one of them, they were transporting the body back to Wright-Patterson or something like that.
Right.
So they wanted the body. So it wasn't just killing and rescuing soldiers. They wanted the body.
Burying it. Yeah. Look, we had on my show, on my YouTube show, I had the grandson of the witch who lived in the Kandahar province right near the cave. She would go and take livestock like goats and put them to the stake to feed the giants. How do I know that? Because this kid, that was his grandmother. It was his grandmother. She was a witch. She was a witch. So it's, we have way too many people that have come on the record. I had a really interesting conversation with a gentleman who was in Special Forces, and he told me off the record, can't go public with it, he can't, but I can, that they were dispatched to the cave where the original giant was shot, and they went into the cave and there was a firefight in there. And they killed one more, and the other 2 vanished. So they can jump through space and time, which is exactly, and some of you are going to go, oh, LA is really off the deep end, but I'm not. Before you say that, do some research. Sasquatch, and we actually have film of this, can pop in and can pop out. So we're looking at the supernatural world, which most of the churches never want to talk about, because I get it, it's kind of woo-woo, but when we read our Bibles, do we actually believe, and you know where I'm going with this, what we read? Floating access, talking donkeys, virgin birth, men that walk on water, word of exchange and wine. That's all supernatural stuff. Men that are taken from one place and transported to another place. Think Philip here. When Jesus does the miracle and calms the sea, and instantly they were at their destination. So if the destination is here, and they're on the Sea of Galilee here, how do they get from here to here instantly? That's called teleportation on some level. Do I understand it? Nope, I don't. But all I know is this, that the supernatural world is real, and sometimes it manifests to people like you and me. And that's what we're talking about here, because the Nephilim are back on the earth today. It's different. Hybrids are walking amongst us. We have films on this. I mean, we've only got a half an hour, and I'm kind of jumping around like a frog on a hot plate. I get that. But the bottom line is this phenomenon is real. And why would Jesus warn us that it would be like the days of Noah? I mean, that's a huge deal for him to say that. And I believe we're in the days of Noah. Hybrids are walking amongst us. They are taking the DNA from the giants in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they're doing something with it. Are they creating super soldiers? Back to Russ Dizdar. That's what Russ believed, and I believe it too.
The key thing in all this is context. And so when Jesus is speaking this and talks about the days of Noah, the people in the first century, they were very knowledgeable of the book of Enoch. We just know this. It's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. These writings are everywhere. They would immediately thought supernatural, like, oh.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no doubt wickedness in the Bible, Genesis 6:5, the wickedness of the hearts of kids, all the way to their youth, continually wicked. But there's no doubt they would not have left out Genesis 6:1-4 before they got to 5. They knew.
They knew exactly what he was talking about.
And they knew the traditions that were, again, in Second Temple Judaism, as we see in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
And the bones are on display.
Yeah, Josephus.
We're not making this up.
I mean, Josephus writes this in 90 AD, so way after Jesus, and the bones are on display. So you're talking about a full culture, and if we can read it in our very sanitized modern ways and go, oh, well, this is just about being unaware. People, in days of Noah, they simply were unaware, planting, building.
Yeah, they were eating and drinking.
And that's true. There is some of that. But again, the three-dimensional aspect is they would have thought, oh, what? It's going to be like that. So, this particular collection that was put together, tell me how this came about, because obviously...
Fritz Zimmerman.
Okay, tell us.
Fritz Zimmerman wrote a book, and it was Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley, and the Nephilim Chronicles, Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley. This is a quick story. So I'm on my way to Ohio, right? I was there as a kid, but I have no idea where I'm going. I'm going to speak at some conference someplace. Fine. About the Nephilim. So Russ gets on the phone and goes, LA, do you know where you're going? I go, yeah, I'm going to Ohio. And he starts laughing. You have to know Russ, when he starts chuckling like that, he's got something up his sleeve. And he goes, are you by the computer? And I go, yeah. And he goes, Google the Nephilim Chronicles, Fallen Angels in the Ohio Valley. And I go, what? And and there it is. It's Fritz Zimmerman's book. Well, I order the book. I get the PDF. I'm reading it on the plane because I have 5 hours to get to Ohio on the plane flight. So I'm reading this thing. I'm going, you've got to be kidding me. And my driver is taking me to the conference. And I'm going, hey, do you know where these Newark earthworks are? And he goes, yeah, we're going to go buy them right here. We've been going back and forth. I go, what? And sure enough, we go by it. There's a big sign to Newark. I go, look, I've got free time tomorrow. Can you drop me off here? So now it's Sunday afternoon. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He drops me off. There's not a soul there. There's no one in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's like
at
a
all.
golf course or something, right?
It's nobody there. In the parking lot, I'm walking up this 4-foot asphalt pathway, looking to my left. I know it's the Great Circle Mound from Fritz's book. And I get up to the top and I make a left turn. I look at the gateway and I walk to the gate. Even now I'm feeling it. I walk to the gateway and I pause there. And I'm hyperventilating. I'm like this, looking around. Something supernatural is happening to me. And I realize, and I'm not making this up, I am looking at the rest of my life. I am looking at the rest of my life. And folks, that's what we've done. We're on the trail of the Nephilim. All because of Fritz Zimmerman, that book. And Fritz, you know, he's been to 700 mound sites. He is the go-to guy. And so Fritz, just an incredible speaker, and it was great to have him there too. And you know, I have a debt of gratitude to Fritz because he opened the door for me, and I stand on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, the material that is in this collection, again, has not gone out of date. And that's one of the reasons why we're talking about it, is because it, again, lays the foundation for all of what the Bible says, that three-dimensional aspect. And if maybe this is something that you are not that familiar with, well, this is the opportunity to get familiar with allowing the Bible to come and be three-dimensional. So we're going to take a little break here where you can see how to get this, again, very foundational collection. Gary's and there's others. And so take a listen.
The biblical account of Genesis 6 has long been overlooked until researchers like Gary Stearman, Chuck Missler, and Steve Quayle began sounding the alarm about a dark hybrid creation described in Scripture. That all changed some years ago at a series of 3 prophecy conferences held in the shadow of Ohio's legendary Serpent Mound. At the time, no one realized the importance of these events, but we know these foundational conferences awoke the public to the dark reality of the biblical account. The Nephilim were on earth for 500 years or more, leading to the flood of Noah, when God destroyed everything on earth, save Noah and his family. God's judgment was the answer to Lucifer's genetic infiltration, designed to destroy mankind and pollute the bloodline of the Messiah. Enter L.A. Marzulli and Russ Dizdar, who took the study of the Nephilim to a whole new level. Add in a lifetime of biblical wisdom from Gary Stearman, who introduced us to the concept of the seed war, a series of obscure biblical messages that take us places most have never experienced. The Nephilim Mounds collection is a set of 19 messages on 11 DVDs. DNA lies at the heart of God's creation. Russ Dizdar's work on the backbreeding of the Nephilim, super soldiers, and the transhumanism explosion is now foundational to our biblical understanding. Fritz Zimmerman takes us on a ground zero tour of the Ohio Mounds, while LA exposes fallen angel technology, megalithic Nephilim architecture, and the Smithsonian's efforts to cover up the reality of the biblical account. This set of 11 DVDs, the best messages from these 3 conferences, is available for your gift of $60 or more, with shipping included in the USA. We've added a bonus, a copy of the Watchers 6 DVD, LA's groundbreaking study on his journeys in Peru, where he can be found crawling out of hidden caves, carrying elongated Nephilim skulls, and visiting private museums where these skulls were once on display. Most of these museums are now closed to the public, so the cover-up continues. Call the number on the screen toll-free or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. For our international friends, please note that additional shipping fees do apply, and all prices listed are in US dollars. Should you wish to explore the adventures of L.A. Marzulli further, we've created the L.A. Marzulli Nephilim Collection, which includes the Nephilim Mounds DVD collection, L.A.'s DVD on crop circles, and his book, Countermove, describing the return of the Nephilim after Noah's flood. The entire package, plus the bonus DVD, Watchers 6, can be yours for your gift of $100 or more. You can't truly understand the message of the Bible without understanding the 6th chapter of Genesis. This ancient seed war between Jesus and Lucifer laid the very foundation for the message of the cross. Thank you for watching today and supporting the work of Prophecy Watchers.
Well, welcome back. We are here with L.A. Marzulli. And L.A., one of the things that I find fascinating about the entire discussion is, again, I have a background in academia, at least in the sense of archaeology. And so I understand the value of it, but I also understand the snobbery of it, And so you have these conventional viewpoints, which we see, and they have their agenda. But what I find fascinating is one of the speakers is Chief Joseph Riverwind, which you've done a lot with, and he's a Native American, and he describes their oral traditions and how it conflicts
Completely.
And so talk about that.
Well, the oral tradition basically is when they find a child who they realize the child has a gift, they can memorize things. And so from a very early age, like we're talking 4, 5, 6 years old, they begin to tell the child, the story keeper, tells the child the tribe's history, the oral tradition. He's not allowed to change a word or add a word to it. And that oral tradition is literally sacrosanct among First Nation people. Every single tribe, and I'm quoting Chief Joseph here, every single tribe in the Americas has stories about the giants that were here. So Chief Joseph Riverwind and the oral tradition, the giants were here. Absolutely they were here. But that's pushed to the side, just like, Native Americans built the mounds, but they just forgot that they had done so. One of the most racist statements I have ever heard, because it goes against the oral tradition. All the tribes, we didn't do this. It was here when we got here. How many times do we have to hear this? But they discount that because it's the oral tradition.
Yeah, exactly. And so, we got about 90 seconds left, but
wow.
Things go quick. Take a minute to discuss, again, some of the work that we did in seeing the intervention of the DNA. I mean,
you and I went down, we took 56 samples, I believe.
58, yeah.
58 samples from these elongated skulls in Peru. We've been still doing it, and we've got new information, which will be released probably in September, peer review paper from a world-class geneticist. These are not human. That's all I can tell you. They are not human.
These hybrids of some kind.
And our DNA proved that they came from the Middle East. What are they doing in Peru? They shouldn't be there, unless there was a diaspora, which is what our theory was, and this proves it, in our opinion.
The evidence is leading here. Again, as Ellie said, a lot of the world doesn't want to hear this, and we've seen it. We've seen it in action by even some of the governments, like even a Peruvian government. But LA, as always, thank you for your time.
Great to be here.
This is a great topic. It's a biblical topic, and that's one of the reasons why we spend the time discussing it, because at the end of the day, it shows us the power of the Lord Jesus Christ and the gospel, that not only is he defeating his earthly enemies, but he's defeating the ultimate enemy, which is Satan himself, again. And we're going to see the finality of that coming up, this great seed war from Genesis 3:15. He has been defeated, and Jesus is going to get the final victory, as we see in his return. So thanks for watching today. As always, thank you for your prayers and support. We'll catch you next time.